Hey guys, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I thought I would kind of talk about my personal struggles with mental health. I struggle with borderline personality disorder and major depressive disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety. I also have body dysmorphia and an eating disorder, which recently I have relapsed in. And it's a real struggle. I have a lot of trauma going back to early childhood. Even though I have been in therapy most of my life, a lot of my trauma has not been dealt with. And, growing up, I was always a really, gentle spirit. My mom tells me that when I was a little kid, I always gravitated towards, people that society looked down upon. People society rejected, whether they were disabled or just different. I was always that way. But at the same time, when you go through life, trauma can really do some things to a person. I mean, you look at war veterans, for an example. And, you can even watch war movies, for an example. And you can have, for an example, you watch a war movie and you have maybe, like, the main character. And the main character is, the soldier, and it shows him, before he goes off to war. And maybe, he grows up as this kid who is normally really happy, and, he grows up, he wants to be the hero, and so, he wants to be the soldier because he wants to be the hero, he wants to save people, and, he's the type that, stands up for what he believes in. He's the type that, when the bullies are beating up the kids, he'll go in and stand up for them, kind of like Steve Rogers in Captain America. He's the really skinny kid, but, when the bullies come in, he'll go, I can do this all day, but get the crap beaten out of him. But he's like the hero, he wants to be the hero. But he's always been the happy kid still, and he's always had this gentle spirit to him. But then when he finally goes off to war, it changes him. The things that he sees when he's on the battlefield, the things he has to do to survive, the things he witnessing, his buddies dying, having to kill people, maybe even not only having to witness children dying, even having to kill some children. The things he has to witness and the things he has to do on the battlefield. And then not only surviving that, when he comes home from that, the war does not end from there. The war is still going on in his head. And, sometimes in those war movies, not in every war movie, but in some war movies, you do watch. If I remember right, American Sniper is one of those even, where you watch them when they come home, and the war, even though they're not on the battlefield physically anymore, they're still at war in their head. And that's what you call post-traumatic stress disorder, where you are still on the battlefield. And post-traumatic stress disorder is not just for war veterans. It happens for all types of trauma. And so, with the movie example, with that happy kid who wanted to be the hero, after he experiences what he experienced on the battlefield, when he comes home, he's a completely different person. And, just to survive, he's not, deep down inside, he's still that same gentle spirit, but he's still in survival mode. And so, he has to learn to trust people again, because he's had to deal with so many people on the battlefield, so many enemies trying to kill him, that now, even though he's back at home, and, even though in his, he can tell himself, I'm back at home, these people, my family, my friends, they don't want to kill me. But, he's still scared, because something in him still says, I have to survive. I don't know who to trust. Anybody could try to kill me. And so, at that point, he may snap at people. He doesn't trust people. He gets really scared, and there may be certain sounds, certain scents that trigger him to go back to the event. Just different things can trigger that. And so trauma can change a person. And while deep down that person is still there, that soft, gentle person is still in there. That kid who wants to be the hero is still in there. There is a wall trying to protect them. And that has happened with me because of a lot of trauma. And that has affected a lot of my relationships, unfortunately. And that is something I have been trying to work on for a while. I'm continuing to work on that. But it takes time. It takes time. You know, I'm having to unlearn old habits. I'm having to teach myself that not everyone is out to get me. Not everyone is out to hurt me. Not everyone is out to just stab me in the back. Not everyone is just gonna up and abandon me. And so, you know, a lot of my mental illnesses are rooted in a lot of trauma. And so, you know, a lot of the treatment for to treat trauma, it's something called trauma work, and it's very, very difficult to go through. And while I want to do trauma work, I know at the moment I'm not ready to do it. I am not in a stable enough place to do it, because unfortunately a lot of trauma work involves stuff kind of like exposure therapy. If it's not exposure therapy, it is basically doing stuff that is reliving it. And while with post-traumatic stress disorder, I mean, you already go through times where you relive it. I mean, you definitely, when you go through trauma work, you have to relive it. And if you're not in a stable enough place to go through that, and you don't have the right coping skills to get through it, it can be very, very dangerous. And so I know if I asked my therapist right now about it, she would tell me I'm not ready, since I am struggling with my eating disorder right now. Which is a bummer for me right now, because I really want to tackle my trauma. It kind of feels like I don't really know how to describe it. It's like I feel like if I don't tackle the trauma, my relationships are not going to be steady. And if my relationships are not steady, then my mental health is not going to be steady. And until my mental health is steady, I can't tackle the trauma. So, you know, it makes it difficult that way. I get it. It's really difficult to struggle with mental health. And when you add addiction on top of that, oh my gosh, when you add addiction on top of that, I have struggled with addiction for a long time. My first addiction was pornography. I have been sober from that for 11 years. My next addiction was self-harm. I have not self-harmed since January, and it is May. And then I was not addicted to marijuana. However, I did become pretty dependent on marijuana, and so and I was told that I was in the beginning stages of addiction. So there was that too. Yeah, I tend to move from one addiction to another, unfortunately. And then I struggle with codependency as well. And I'm working on that as well. I'm currently going through a divorce, and with that, I am not wanting to jump into something real quickly. I am working on myself. I want to be my best self. Not just for myself, but for whoever I'm with. And then also, I want to make sure that I am happy with myself before I am with somebody else. Because I feel like I'm not in a position anymore where it's a need to be with somebody. It's more of a want. In the past, it was a need. And that is a codependency thing. In a sense, there is a need. We are social creatures. God made us social creatures. We do depend on each other. But when that need goes to the extreme, and I can get needy. And that is something I am working on. I can get pretty needy. Usually my needy, though, is rooted in my anxiety. I have really, really bad anxiety. But my neediness is not as bad as it used to be. It's definitely something that I feel like I take maybe 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's common in recovery. You're gonna have relapses. Relapse is a part of recovery. And the important part is when you fall off the horse to get back on. I used to ride horses, and I'm hoping one day to ride horses again. I've lost enough weight to where I can ride again. at this point, it's a financial thing. It's very expensive to ride horses. So, and then finding a place also that'll do lessons. But anyway, every time, I fell off a horse, which I did very often. It is very common to fall off a horse or to get kicked off or whatever. What do? Do you just sit there? Do you just sit on your butt? No, you don't just sit there. You get up, you get back on the horse. So, and the thing about horses too, by the way, is you have to show them who's boss. Because horses will take advantage of you. And it's the same way in recovery. Whether it is mental health or it is addiction. You have to show it who's boss. Because if it is mental illness or it is addiction, it is a monster to deal with. It really is. And I get it. I really do. And if you don't show it who's boss, it will show you its boss. And so, you've got to be in control. And to do that, when you fall off the horse, you get back up, you get back on. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy, especially when, your pride and your ego is bruised. It can be easy to just sit there and have a pity party. But that's not helpful either. So, just get back on. And just keep going. Keep going, keep pushing forward. I know it's hard. I know it's really, really hard. Right now, it's really, really hard for me. My eating disorder right now, it's really kicking me in the butt. I won't get into details because I don't want to trigger anyone, especially if someone watching this is struggling. But it's really kicking me in the butt. And I'm trying to fight it. I've always been able to fight it in the past. But it's getting to the point that I'm going through days where I feel like I don't want to fight it anymore. I'm going through days where I feel like, what's the point anymore? But I'm still trying. Because I'm not on this earth for myself. No. God put me here for a reason. And I'm still trying to figure out completely what that reason is. I have some idea. I've been told different things all my life, what that reason is, but I just, I've always just, my heart's desire is to do whatever God wants me to do. To obey God, to serve God, to honor God, and to please God. is my heart's desire. And I want to help people. I have always had a servant's heart. Growing up, there were always different things I wanted to do. There was a time I wanted to be a missionary. There was a time I wanted to be a youth pastor. There was a time I wanted to be in the army. I wanted to be a police officer, a firefighter. I always wanted these jobs that served people. A farmer, just jobs that served people. The number one job I always wanted was to be a mom. Like, ever since I was a really small kid, I wanted to be a mom. But other than being a mom, like, every job I've always wanted had to do with serving people. That's just how I've always been. I'm trying to learn to be more trusting, but be more trusting with the right people. Because that's another problem I have. I tend to be trusting with the wrong people. Anyway, there were a couple verses I wanted to point out. Hold on a second, because I had them up here. Okay. So, I wanted to bring up some verses that have kind of comforted me when it comes to dealing with mental health. Psalm 94:19. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. In Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So, when we deal with addiction or we deal with mental health issues, we need to come to Christ, and he will give us rest. That rest may not be in a way that we think of it as. But he will give us rest. And just cling to him. When nobody else is there for you, he is. He's always there. I've been there where no one else is there for you, when you have nobody. When everybody has abandoned you, basically. But he won't leave you. He'll always be there. And that's a really amazing thing, to know that the God of the universe is always going to be there for you. That's something that amazes me. That he could love someone like me. Someone society has rejected for so long. But he could look at me and say, I love you. You're precious to me. So, and he says that to you too. You're precious to him. No matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, you're someone really, really special to him. I mean, you have to be. I mean, he sent his son to die for you. A really gruesome death for you, too. So, you gotta be someone really special. So, don't give up. Keep fighting. And I'm gonna keep trying to fight too. So hang in there. Hang tough. I love you guys. God bless.